Hi, I'm April, and I'm the founder of the Love and Loss Project. So today I have a Q&A video for you. Today's question comes from Jennifer, and Jennifer writes, "Hey there, I watch my niece Monday through Friday, and my question is that every time we meet someone new, she tells them about my son, and it puts me in an awkward position. So how do I say nicely to a 6-year-old not to tell everybody she meets about her angel cousin?" Thank you, Jennifer. So Jennifer, thank you so much for sending in that question to me. This is a challenging one, and on one hand, I kind of want to spend all day talking about this because there's so many different parts of this question that are really important. So thank you for sending it in. The first thing I want to say is you are a supernova. That is so impressive that you take care of your niece that way, and your family is really lucky to have you, especially after you've gone through this. To continue to do that is an amazing gift. And it's a gift that your niece is also getting to really benefit from. So the first thing I want to say is, like in all of our relationships after grief, there are so many new areas and new conversations that we have to set new boundaries. And that applies to all the relationships in our life, young and old. But I want to just pause for a second to take this a little bit deeper, because I'm assuming that part of what makes this conversation so difficult to have with your niece is that you worry about the possible impact of setting this boundary might have on her and how she kind of processes or makes sense of grief and loss and death. So what I want to say to you is that this also makes me get curious about what the impact is of that conversation on your experience of this grief and loss. So hear me out for a second, because I know this is a little bit challenging. But after we experience the loss of a baby, we really tend to crave, or I certainly know from my experience, I often really was very aware of the fact that it was not okay to talk about baby loss, that this was not something that our culture or our society or our community really had room for. It was a taboo topic. And we've come a long way, because our generation before us, my mother's generation, did not really talk about this stuff, ever. And I think that they paid a huge price for that. So we really are the trailblazers for starting to create a bit more cultural conversation about experiences that as women are actually horrific and incredibly common. So that's why this is so important to me, to do these kind of videos and to do this work, so that we really are breaking the silence around this. And here's an interesting point. Your niece is very much breaking the silence of this. So that tells me that you have created with her a real openness. She has been privy to this information about your experience. And I think that that is amazing and powerful for everybody involved. So what you're bumping up against is really this tension between our generation and the benefits that we are delivering for the next generation of that. She thinks it's fine to talk about this to everybody because you've made it so safe for her to talk about this with you. And I think that's very cool. So I absolutely believe that as our baby's mothers, it absolutely is our job to protect our baby's memory, and we have full right to decide who we're comfortable to share that with and who we are not. So I think you absolutely have full right to set that boundary with strangers and to have a chat with her really simply about the idea that that's not something that you want to share and talk about with everybody. But my note of caution a little bit in doing that, because it might be that you're also cutting yourself off from allowing yourself to have full right for your loss to be a fact, for your loss to be valid. And I know that's a bit tricky because it is so awkward when this stuff comes up. But it might be that your niece is presenting to you one of the things that we all crave, which is a bit of acceptance, a bit of widening the social conventions around miscarriage, pregnancy, and baby and child loss. So you might want to think about whether you want to keep that channel open. This is not going to last forever. She's not going to be 14 and continuing to tell everybody she meets about this. This clearly is a part of her processing this. And kids are so intuitive, right? She is picking up on where you're at with this. And she's saying, this is okay by me. I will give you the space you need. So when it comes to the conversations with strangers, here's a tip that I use. I like to have what I call a conversational smoother in my back pocket. So if you're somewhere with your niece and she does tell somebody about your lost little one, I think you can follow that up with something like, yep, and we made a craft today in honor of him, didn't we? Pinterest has some amazing craft ideas on there. You should really check that out sometime. And with one simple sentence, you've both validated her, validated your son's memory, validated your right for your grief, and given this perfect stranger something else to grab onto and move this conversation either nowhere because it's ended and that's fine because you're just in line and moving out of the way to checkout, or you've given them something else to talk about. Pinterest is a safe and easy topic. So that's a conversation smoother, something that lets us validate it, but also takes that topic one step farther so that we can transition ourselves out. Because of course we don't want to be talking about our most precious stuff with people that haven't really earned access to that conversation with us and might just be looking to talk about the weather today. So a conversation smoother helps you to transition that out of that way. The other thing is that I think if you do decide to set that boundary with her, you can say, this is something that I don't want to talk about other strangers to because I like this just to be really with our friends and family. Totally appropriate. Kids speak the truth plainly and simply all the time. It's adults that really struggle with this stuff because we worry about hurting people's feelings, we worry about all kinds of other stuff, but I think it's totally fine just to say that plainly. We just want to share him with our friends and family. And then follow that up with some kind of activity that lets her know and reinforces that you do want to preserve his memory, if that's the case, and you do want to preserve this opportunity for her to process her grief and talk about death and loss as a part of life, because it is. And so that's one of the amazing gifts that you've given to your niece, and even just sharing with her your experience of losing your son. So kudos to you. So do a craft with her, read a book with her, keep that chain of communication open with her and open with yourself. You are allowed to take the time that you need for this, and you are allowed to give it the attention and care it deserves. So that's my thoughts on that. I would love to hear from other people. If you have other strategies or ideas for this, please share them with them and let's keep the conversation going. If this video was useful to you, I'd love to hear that back as well. And if you found it useful, please share it with someone else who might also benefit from being a part of this discussion, because we are needing to break the silence around baby loss. And send me your questions because I'm going to keep these videos going. So send me any questions or topics that you would like to hear me address, and that might be the focus of my next video. So thanks for coming by, lovelostproject.com. I'll see you there next time. Take care.